welcome back to MD Global Muscle here at the On the Rise Media Studio with me, your host, Giles Thomas. And we are joined all the way from Australia at 8 p.m. at night, new MD team member, Xavier Wills. Yay! Xavier.
Thanks so much for having me, Giles. It's awesome to be on. I actually am a listener of your show, or watcher and a listener. A lot of the time I just put it on YouTube and just have the screens, locked and just listen to your shows. And it's good because they're like longer form shows, which tend to be, I suppose, less popular these days online. But yeah, I suppose the people that do listen are like hardcore fans, which is really cool. And I love what you do.
Yeah, so, I mean, Xavier, the reason I wanted to get you... Well, thank you, by the way. I really appreciate that. You watch it on YouTube. You don't listen to the download. Do you listen to the audio or do you watch it?
Well, I've got YouTube Premium, so you can lock your phone and you can download them offline and then listen to them later. So that's what I normally do with a lot of videos.
Okay. Well, the reason I wanted to get you on is because recently you became an MD team member. And of course, I wanted to welcome you to the team and get you on because you've been doing some really, really good work in the bodybuilding industry, in the media. Because I'll be honest, I'll be straight with you. The reason I got you on is because I've got a bit of a bone of contention with some of the bodybuilding media. I think it's a bit of a disgrace, to be honest. The way that the clickbaiting, the sort of content that's at the expense of the athlete, not the benefit of the athlete. I feel like a lot of them are very disrespected. So when someone comes along like yourself, and you put a lot of work into your editing and your interview skills and your knowledge and your passion, and you really kind of put the athlete first. I really, really want to champion that, and I really want to get behind that. So that's one of the main reasons I got you on. So what you're doing, mate, is very good for the industry, and I'm really glad to have you on the team.
Well, thank you so much. That means a huge amount. And it's one of those things when I sort of got into actually doing the bodybuilding media side of things. I've been doing it for sort of years on and off. I started back when I was in my early 20s and I'm 30 years old now. So I've been around it for a long time. My dad used to compete back before I was born. And then I sort of, saw pictures of him, got into it, and then got into the whole scene of wanting to competing and all that sort of stuff. And I suppose I was just drawn to, initially when I started working, like I started, personal training, finding something in the industry. And then I found the love of the bodybuilding media side of things where I followed, MD and all the other websites and stuff and the magazines and stuff as well. So it's pretty fortunate that we, I suppose, live in a time where, anyone can start a YouTube channel now. It's just about who sort of puts out the most engaging and I suppose attention-grabbing content without being, I don't want to be a flash in the pan sort of a channel where I put things out where people start to realize pretty quick that, this guy just is starting drama for no reason or whatever. So I'm trying to do it in a smart way where I've got those sort of quicker sort of videos to get people's attention, where I'm not doing just pure clickbait stuff, but also putting out really quality content. So that's what I'm trying to do, and trying to emulate what yourself and other people are doing out in the industry that I look up to as well.
I think if you come from a positive point of view, and the athletes kind of when you're speaking to them, they can see your standpoint, and you're there to sort of promote the industry as a whole, as under an umbrella of positivity, rather than what can I get to annoy that person to make a short video? What can I do to get views? What can I do to clickbait? Like I was, I interviewed. Well, I'll tell you, I interviewed Dorian Yates last year, and I was out for dinner after his premiere, Dorian Yates' premiere, and this person said, he says, "Why didn't you ask him about one of the subjects that was some other channels have clickbaited?" And I said, absolutely not. I've got no interest in doing that, because plus you want to get those athletes on again, and you want to help them. You don't want to hinder them. It's like if you get someone on and then 2 weeks later you're doing a video that's kind of detrimental to them, or you're bad mouthing them, they're not going to come on again. So when there's the Arnold Classic and you want to get Phil Heath to come on and do his predictions, you don't do a video then 2 weeks later start dissing him, so it's really, like, for me, it's like, and I'm so happy that you see this as well. This kind of, to me, it's a no-brainer,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that's why people go on your show and then come on again. Like, you've had that relationship with Phil Heath and all the other top pros that you have on your show. And it's, we know bodybuilders in general are pretty sensitive as well. So, I mean, I've done, 1 or 2 videos where I've slightly upset someone, but I always try to give them a heads up. So if someone says something about another bodybuilder in a video or in an interview or whatever, I'll message them prior to it going up and saying, hey, just a heads up, this is what this person said. Good. Just letting you know, if you do want to come on or do you want me to say anything in response to that, it's always open to you, because I don't think it's fair to have someone on and then they give their side of the story on something and then the other person gets left out or anything like that. So I try to make it so it's pretty transparent. I don't like to side with anyone or anything like that. I let, whoever comes on as an interview or whatever, I let them sort of give their side of the story, and I just stay as impartial as possible because, we do all have, friends and people that we're closer to and stuff in the industry, but I try to leave all that pretty much to the side while I'm doing this because, as a reporter, like, you need to be impartial as possible. So, yeah.
See, that's what it is. It's proper journalism. Like I love watching talk shows, and the presenter will sometimes be devil's advocate just to sort of give an opposing point of view. I mean, I used to do it when I used to do stuff with AJ. I would sometimes deliberately disagree with him so we could get a discussion going, so we could offer, because if you've both got the same points of view, and like you said, if you're not giving heads up, that's not a good way to build a good reputation in the industry. So tell us about, because I'll be honest, a lot of media athletes are kind of, some of us are kind of failed bodybuilders, like when I was 16, I wanted to be a pro. I wanted to be like Sean Ray and Kevin Nerone and Dorian Yates. And I mean, I competed a few times. I did okay. I achieved good condition, but I kind of, obviously I didn't get my pro card, and I found another way to kind of be relevant and be in the heart of the industry and being kind of, involved in, is that how you're still competing, aren't you?
Yeah. So it's funny for me because I was one of the guys back in the day when I was 17, 16 years old, and I'd watch the webcasts that used to be on bodybuilding.com, and I would watch them so intensely of the Ironman Pro, the Arnold Classic, and then you get sort of like, oh, I want to be one of those guys one day, and you go and have a little flex in the mirror and go, oh, yeah, I'm not there yet, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I was really, really into that. I wanted to be a pro one day, but my genetic potential just isn't there. My ability to gain muscle is just not that amazing. Mm-hmm. But so I did Classic. I did win the year before it became the Arnold Classic Australia, the amateur side there. I did win the Classic Bodybuilding as it was back then. I won that there.
Oh, you won it you won the national?
Yeah, so sort of like the National Classic Physique.
Wow.
What's now Classic Physique was Classic Bodybuilding back then. So I won that. The next year I came back. I had a bit of an injury. I came fourth when it was the Arnold Classic Australia.
Yeah.
And then I've just had some injuries to do with my hips and legs, and it's made it sort of really hard to smash my legs, which I really need to sort of bring up a little bit. And then physique came around, and I started doing a transformation challenge. This was not New Year's just gone, the one before. It was actually for Redcon 1. And I started doing that, and everyone started asking, are you competing? Are you competing? And I was like, no, I'm not competing, because I never wanted to do men's physique. It was never something that I was into, I never had the love for it. And then everyone kept asking. So I was like, maybe I could do men's physique. And I asked my partner and got her opinion on it. And she's like, yeah, you'd probably do really well. And I was like, oh, would I? And, you get that self-doubt coming in. Like,
yeah.
You doubt yourself a lot. And then my first men's physique comp, I was fortunate enough to I won the overall there.
Oh, you won it?
I went to the Arnold Classic Australia, and then I got second to the guy that won his pro card, which I was incredibly happy with because we were in the tall class, so I got second to him. Apparently it was pretty close, but I don't like to say that after a comp because I feel like everyone comes to
You're a journalist, you're allowed to.
Exactly, yeah. And, so I got second to him, and then I went to do the Arnold Classic Australia this year, but there was a lot of doubt whether it was going to happen. And we had a family holiday booked, and there's 5 of us, so we've gone to Tasmania, New Zealand, Queensland, just pretty much everywhere, and it was $7,000 in flights. And I just thought to myself, I can't risk going to Melbourne and then the comp gets cancelled. So I decided to pull the pin, and hopefully next year I get the opportunity again to compete and hopefully go for my pro card in men's physique, because it's more something that, like, while I don't love the division as much as bodybuilding, it's a great challenge for me. And I am getting, I suppose, more into it now, get to know the personalities more, and you get to see, I suppose, get that bit of camaraderie with a few guys in Australia and get that bit of a competitiveness, I guess.
So going back to how you got involved in the media, like I started, because I'm originally from Wales, and I started kind of just obviously back in 1995, I started writing, photographing for in Wales on the Welsh bodybuilding scene, because there was a real gap. And then I kind of went national, then European, then international. So obviously with Australian bodybuilding, I've had Tony Doherty on, we've had Josh Lenartowicz, Jake Nikolopoulos. But there's a real kind of buzz and a real kind of the Australian bodybuilding scene really exploding. Is that where you started, and then you've just kind of grown exponentially going international?
Yeah, absolutely. I started my own website. So I was working for another supplement company down here in Tasmania. When I was in Tasmania, because that's where I'm originally from, and now I'm living in Perth, Australia. And I started working for them, and then I started wanting to do my own bodybuilding thing. So I saw what other websites were doing, and I thought I could start my own podcast. So I did that, and that was back before there was all these like Libsyn and all these other podcast things where you can easily upload a podcast. I had to do it through like HTML, FTP, or whatever it is. I can't even remember.
What year was this? Sorry, what year was this, Xavier? Sorry to interrupt.
I'm trying to remember. It was probably about 11 years ago, though. So it was pretty early on.
Been around a while then.
I was about 19 years old, and I'm not like a super tech guy or anything, but I would just Google things, try to figure out how to do it, and I ended up doing my own podcast. Then basically I got linked up with an American media website, started doing the Australian version of that, and I started traveling to comps in Australia. Everyone I pretty much could travel to and actually cover. So I did this whole thing with the play-by-plays. I had my own forum, all that sort of stuff. Did the videos, the post-comp interviews, all that sort of stuff. So I sort of just emulated what you guys were doing, but I did it in Australia. And then, eventually I suppose I sort of got out of that just because, I was making money from it, but it was a few advertisers, and if a couple of them went away, I was worried what would happen to me.
I had to go in and out of the supplement industry to kind of feed my journalism bodybuilding habit. Like literally, like I started like you, I was doing show reports, interviews. I had my own website, ukmuscle.com in 2002. And that was, I had a forum, and I had galleries, and I was covering shows. And because, you want something of your own, don't you? And like you said, I'm not a tech guy either, but you have to learn. It's like I was saying about this studio, the thing, it's like it's a real, I feel like we both really earned our spurs, because that's kind of how you get going. You have to learn, you have to sort of, start at the bottom and go to the shows. And I've hitchhiked back from shows and photo shoots. I've got, it's kind of how I think that's how you really build your love for the sport,
Absolutely. And obviously we're not doing it for money per se, because, like getting into bodybuilding, it's not like there's tons and tons of money coming in, but it's something that it sounds like we actually did a lot of the same thing. You did it in the UK and I did it in Australia.
At 19 as well. At 19, we both started when we were 19.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. Yeah,
so cool.
There's a lot of similarities between me and you, and I've always almost recognized that a little bit as well, because we're not coming from being a pro bodybuilder or anything like that, and then we're transitioning into the media or anything. We're coming from being nothing, a low-level competitor or whatever on an amateur level, to starting, some sort of media, I suppose, presence at least anyway on, YouTube, through media websites and whatnot as well. So I just basically got back into it. I saw what Nick Strength and Power was doing with, the amount of views he's getting, and I suppose just the way he sort of conducted his videos in the short form. I thought that's something I could probably do and bust out those videos pretty quick. And I started originally called Desktop Bodybuilding, because I was like, I'm literally just going to record my screen. Yeah. And then I'll have a little thing of myself on there. And then I'm super, I suppose, like pedantic, and I want things to be perfect. So I was like, no, I'm going to do it with a green screen. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
I made my work a lot harder, but I was like, it comes out as a better product. I started getting enough views to actually justify it. Yeah. And last year, unfortunately, I got glandular fever, which I don't know if you guys call it mono or if it's glandular fever.
Glandular fever, yeah, it's horrible. Well. It can. I've had friends taken out for 6 months with it.
Yep. And that's pretty much what happened to me. And I wasn't sleeping. It got into my liver. It caused whole body itchiness. So I sort of disappeared for about 4 to 5 months. And everyone thought I was like dead or something. This was last year. So
he's definitely not dead, by the way, guys. He's definitely not dead. I can attest to this.
I am alive.
It's not green screen.
But yeah, I absolutely love it. And like you do as well, it's a, I suppose, a labor of passion, and we both love what we do, and it's cool to be able to do it. And I'm honored to be a part of MD and doing my weekly video for you guys as well. So yeah,
I kind of see Jen at MD like a kind of female Nick Fury.
A female who?
Nick Fury.
Who's Nick Fury?
From the Avengers. Come on.
Oh, sorry, I'm bad.
Oh, sorry. We cannot be friends. Oh my God, Samuel L. Jackson in the Avengers. Come on, with eye patch.
Oh yeah. I know Tony Stark's. I know the Hulk and all those ones, but yeah, I'm not great with some of the others. Sorry.
Too into his bodybuilding. He's not enough into his comic books. You need to do some reading up, please. I'll send you some material. So So honestly, I wanted to get you on because it's like I think I love because like I said, I get so frustrated sometimes with some of the way that. The bodybuilding media is handled, not from MD, because that's why I'm part of MD, and I've always stayed part of MD. But it's I love to see that kind of same sort of from where you're coming from, that standpoint, that passion, that kind of you're here because you love it, you love being involved. You've put the work in as a young guy from age of 19, like myself. I mean, how old are you now, Xavier?
I'm 30 now, about to turn 31.
30. So I've got 14 years on you, mate. So actually you're probably a little bit further along than I am actually I think so I better fight to stay ahead, I think so. But I mean, it's really great. It's I'm really glad. I was really happy to hear that we're part of MD, and it's so tell us about the new show you started with MD then. Tell us about that.
So basically, it's just a show where I'm going to highlight something every week. So it's going to be like my first episode, which I just released last week. That was on can Flex Lewis actually win the 2020 Mr Olympia in the Opens. And I interviewed Jose Raymond for my desktop bodybuilding channel, and I took a little excerpt out of that as well, where he basically says, he says his opinion on it. He was very strong on his opinion. And I thought that would make a cool video. So I'm going to start doing stuff like that weekly. So the next video might be on, something to do with Hunter Labrada. It might be something to do with, Dwayne Walker, who we saw, who was insanely impressive coming third and made a massive transformation up for the 212s. I might do something around that for my next video, which should be out in a few days on MD. But it's just something that I suppose just something I want to cover every week and really highlight, give my opinion. If I've interviewed someone, I might put some of that interview in there. And just trying to start something, I suppose, where it's more, like you said, like positive bodybuilding media, where it's not just I'm going to talk crap about this person because it's going to get views. You know what I mean? So
and you're not putting out misinformation. You're finding relevant, up-to-date topics, and then you're searching other people's opinions, and you're putting something together that is going to start. It's going to be a conversation starter, and it's kind of going to get people talking. And it's a really good idea because I think there's a real because I write like my column for MD and stuff like that, but obviously that's it's not as up to date because it's a magazine, it's print, So I think it's a really good inclusion to MD, because obviously we Global now has become like an interview based show, so there was a real kind of gap for that kind of hot, up to date news. But isn't it great? Thing is, you've come along just at the right time, because now the shows are starting again. Now we've actually got something up to date and relevant to talk about, rather than like in my column. I mean, I've really had to like challenge myself the last few months with my Global Muscle Buzz column, because I had to like talk about a buzz when there was no shows and everything was kind of, people weren't even allowed to train. It was like, shit, that was a challenge, So it's you must be happy now the shows have started.
Oh, ecstatic. Like I was so happy, because it was like we're all anticipating those first shows, but we didn't really have a definite, like, will it definitely happen? And I actually had a friend that was in Tampa as well, and we did a wrap up together. And he was actually saying that on Wednesday, the show almost got cancelled in Tampa. And then actually the morning of the Pro Bodybuilding today, it almost got cancelled again as well. So I was actually lucky to put that show on. So I'm hoping like shows like New York and stuff go ahead. I know New York's pretty bad. I know that's where Jen is from MD as well. And I pray that goes ahead. If it doesn't, I hope at least these other shows go ahead and we're able to get like a proper season going ahead. But it's going to be very weird with the Mr Olympia as well, because, I know people from Australia can't travel to America at least until 2021. And there's going to be probably, I assume, a few other countries that can't travel as well. We saw Samson Dowder, who was, intending to go to Tampa and compete, not being allowed to travel, which really sucks for him. So I mean, I'm hoping by the Olympia, at least some countries can go and compete, not just, Canada and America. Yeah, I mean, Samson, I mean, he was preparing for several shows, so it's not like it was a one and done thing, But I mean, I really felt for him. I need to message him actually. I need to DM him because, so obviously you can't get to the Olympia this year. Then you're not coming. Unfortunately, no. Yeah, I was planning on doing it as well. I was planning on sort of doing it because I was talking to Fuad and I was like, maybe I could go do the amateur Olympia. And he's like, that would be cool. And then it started to look like less likely. And then our health minister came out and said no travel till 2021, international at least. So we're like, oh, okay, well, we'll have to go on the back burner at least for a little bit as well. But I've got a lot of exciting stuff that I want to go to America and actually do. I mean, I was able to interview Jay Cutler, and I talked to him, and he said, oh, you can come interview me at my place in Vegas and stuff when you come over. And I was like, yes, please. Yeah, go for it. Oh, that's fantastic, mate. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I think you're going to be a really welcome addition to the MD family team, what you want to call it. And I'm really glad to have you on. I wanted to get you on, and just to kind of officially welcome you in the Global Muscle way. So really excited to see what you're going to be doing for the future. And obviously you've got how many children now? Well, my partner has 2 older kids that we all live together, obviously, so 10 and 13. And then we've got a 13-month-old boy called Kylo. He's just loved my life. He's absolutely beautiful. Kylo? Baby girl on the way in a month. So. Did you say Kylo? Yeah, Kylo, yeah.
That's a very... How did you spell that?
Kylo.
Oh, wow. So I'm feeling I'm a bit Star Warsy at the moment because I watched all the Mandalorian series last night. So I'm buzzing, absolutely buzzing. So was it what?
We actually came up with that name before we actually realized that's someone from Star Wars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, total coincidence.
Well, that's okay. I'll let you off. So yeah, and obviously you got one on the way as well, apparently. That's what I hear.
Yeah, baby girl. She's due in about 5 weeks it's meant to be, but because it's my partner's 4th pregnancy, generally they come earlier, so it could be any time. And last night she's having some pains, and she's like, "Oh, it feels like contractions." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's funny because you don't realize all this stuff when you haven't had a baby before. Like my partner last pregnancy, she had contractions for I think it was 8 weeks, and they're called like Braxton Hicks contractions, where they're just mild contractions, and it sort of just gets your body ready for actually having the baby. And pregnancy, I was saying, "Is this it? Is it happening now?" And she's like, "I don't know.
Maybe it was wind or something. I don't know.
Like,
maybe
okay.
maybe it was wind, Xavier. Maybe it was wind. Sorry, bad joke. Right. Okay. Well. Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, we're really excited to see what you're going to do in the future now, and all the best. And I look forward to working with you in the future for Team MD.
Yeah, likewise, Giles. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Hostile Supplements by Phil Abiad. He's also maybe making a comeback as well this year. So everyone out there, make sure you check out his channel as well, because he puts out a lot of really cool content too. Yeah,
he's not Mr. Beat as well, because I always used to think Fuad was one of the most underrated pros out there. I really like him as well. Him and Sommer, because she used to be the... Because I used to do bits of stuff for Muscle Mag back in the day, so I used to know Sommer. She was one of the managing editors that I used to sort of liaise with when I used to do features for them, and they were a really good couple, very successful, really nice people, and I'm glad it's a good company to be associated with, really good one to be lined with. So yeah. Okay then, Xavier. Well, I will speak to you soon, and I'll let you get back to your evening in Australia.
Cool. Thank you very much, Charles. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, mate. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. And welcome back to MD Global Muscle here at the On the Rise Media Studio with me, your host, Giles Thomas. And we're joined all the way from sunny Riccione in Italy, Patrick Tuor. Yay! Patrick!
Hey, mate. It's actually, it's kind of funny that we have to go on Global Muscle Radio to talk to each other, isn't it?
It's just called Global Muscle now. We're more than a radio show.
Sorry.
So we've upgraded.
My bad. That we have to go online on a show to be able to talk to ech other.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah,
it's a little sad.
It's a little sad.
I wish I could talk to you more often.
So what are you doing in Riccione then? You on holiday or?
We had to, after the lockdown, Sylvia's parents, my wife.
Yep.
We hadn't seen them for 5 months.
Oh, okay.
So we had to go down to Rome actually and make sure that everything was fine. They're pretty elderly people. So we went 2 weeks in Rome, stayed with them. Then I promised Sylvia that we would, take a little vacation at the beach. And so we came here to Riccione. We wanted to go to Ponza, which is a little isle outside Rome, which is beautiful, But it's kind of strange. So they had some problems over there. So we said, you know what, let's just go safe, go Riccione, nice hotel, and chill here for a week.
Oh, lovely. That sounds. I've been to Riccione, and I said I've been to Milano Marittima. That was, I think, that's one of the most expensive places in Italy to live, I believe.
Yeah, it's pretty snob, high standard, high society people. Yeah.
Yeah, it suited me. I loved it. Right. Okay.
Yeah, you blend in really well.
I actually probably was the scruffiest person there, and I was dressed like I was now, and I felt really like underdressed. Like sort of. Yeah, that was
here too, because we're staying at the Grand Hotel Les Bains here in Riccione, which is like a 5-star hotel.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know they had a dress code. I mean, I'm here in my Under Armour shorts and T-shirts. And the first night we wanted to go have dinner here, and they wouldn't let me in. They said, no, you have to put on pants and a shirt, And so I had to run out, get me pants and shirts, and yeah.
Good.
They wouldn't let me eat.
Good. I'm glad. You've got to keep standards. You've got to be smart, Patrick. We're You're the elite, mate. You're the elite of what you do, so you've got to represent and look the part all the time. So, yeah. Okay, then. Right, obviously, for those who don't know Patrick Tuor, Patrick's a very well internationally respected, I call you a super coach. I always call you Swiss Supercoach. That's
Thank you.
In my column and in my when I'm writing on forums and on social media and everything. So I really wanted to talk about probably your three main clients. Now, your three main clients, Nicholas Vulio, the 212, who we had on, Swiss Pocket Knife. We'll talk about him. You had Ian Valliere, who competed yesterday, taking second to Hunter Labrada at the Tampa Pro. And third, I'm just trying to think what your third most significant client is. Who would you say is you're kind of the most, say, prominent or, high profile? Who would you say it is, your third?
Well, I think James is like somebody who is promising a lot of good things. I mean, he made some really good improvements, and I'm really seeing very high potential in him.
Well, I think that is probably one of the biggest talking points, certainly in British bodybuilding at the moment, if not internationally, is what you've done with British pro James Hollinshead. Now, James, was he 298 pounds in pretty good condition? This was like, what, a week or two ago?
I mean, his off season, he was like 302 something pounds. And then we decided to start coming down. What are we now? 4 weeks in. And he this morning was down to 292.8. So
Wow.
He dropped like 10 pounds in the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
He looks sharp. So he's doing the Portugal Pro in October, isn't it?
And that's the Spain. That's the Emilio Martinez show in Spain.
Yes. Yeah, the Alicante show. Yeah, we're going to that one. It's going to be a really good one, that. So, so how's it been going? Because obviously it's a big talking point, the fact that what's happened since you and James have been working together. Now, how did that relationship come about, and how do you feel it's going?
Well, we started talking about working together about a year ago. Then things didn't happen, and he decided to go and try to work with Chris Aceto.
Yeah.
I think also mainly because, his best friend Luke at the time was working with him, and so he just wanted to go that route. And Chris is probably the best trainer in the world, so obviously he wanted to give it a try. And I guess things didn't really flow like he wanted to. I think he tried to do too many shows last year, trying to push a little bit instead of focusing on improving what he needed to. Then actually just at the beginning of the lockdown, he wrote me about training, and we started talking. I sent him over some training ideas that, just to change from his usual routine, because James is incredibly strong and intense trainer. So I just gave it a different flow to the training, incorporating a little more work, not just in terms of volume, but intensity or time under tension work. And he really flew. I mean, he really went well with it, at which, like, after 2 weeks, we started talking also about nutrition and every other aspect of the prep. And then he asked me to, take over everything and just make a better connection between training and nutrition, especially. And the results were pretty amazing also for me, considering that he is already an advanced level bodybuilder and, had some really good showing. So the fact that he was able to even, take it up a notch. And I think he entered that development where I really believe he can be a contender in any show he enters.
Yeah.
With the type of size, density he has, and the flow to his body, because he doesn't really have any weak body parts. And once we were able to, bring the condition in and his waist tight, he will look pretty amazing. I mean, that's just, what I'm gathering from how he's responding right now.
When Luke Sando died May the 7th, obviously it hit everyone so hard in the UK and internationally. And if there's anything positive to come from something so tragic, it was, I think because obviously James and Luke were very, very close friends. It's almost like it made him hyper-focus on his bodybuilding to kind of keep his mind strong and keep himself. I think he went deeper. That's for me when I saw a real big step up in his overall, even when the way he was conducting himself on social media, I noticed that he was really like, he was going deeper. You know, I think it's because I think he just needed something I think he thought maybe that's what Luke would want, and I think he threw himself into his bodybuilding, and it's so nice to see something positive to come from, because I think Luke would really be happy about how James is looking and doing and feeling, and the message he's putting out and what he's doing with you. You know, I just it's been something that's it's been a positive from a pretty horrific year all year round, but just that particular situation, I think it's been quite motivating and inspiring, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure what you're saying has a big part of why he is has improved. Obviously, has taken conscious that he is in a special place and he is blessed to be able to do what he loves.
Yeah, and
I think to some degree Luke inspired him, showed the way, made him realize that it is possible. So I can't imagine. It's like you saying, I gathered a little bit that he feels that responsibility to, it might sound a little, I don't know, corny maybe, but I truly feel that James is taking the responsibility to carry on what Luke was doing and had started for British bodybuilding. I really feel that way. That's
how I see it. I see it almost like he's almost honoring his memory by almost like wanting him to be proud in some way. I think that's how I'm interpreting it, because like I saw a big shift in James, and I think it's been something almost like positive for British bodybuilding to focus on, because he's created where kind of Luke had that excitement, for British bodybuilding and obviously internationally. It's like James has kind of taken over the role a little bit now, and he's really kind of stepped up, and it's and he seems to be really thriving, and it's really exciting to see. So what was the biggest change? Because I mean, he made so many significant improvements. Was it just the training, or what did you change? Because I'm sure he said when we interviewed, that you've got him eating more food now. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's both. I think that the main aspect before you go into anything practical like training and nutrition was really, taking conscience of where he was, and that he needed to have different inputs in order to take a step forward. And he really truly believed in what we were doing.
Yeah.
We talked a lot, and that is very important for an athlete, is feeling what you do, tailored on your skin, on your abilities, and making sure that you are doing more and better than you were before. And when he really started to feel that, and I think his confidence is where he made the difference. Every training counted. He went into training more focused and truly believing in what he was doing. And on top of that, obviously, we did change his training to a more metabolic training. That means he was still training heavy, because you can't take that off of the equation, because that's the heavy training is what made who he is. I mean, he was a good bodybuilder. So I just tried to add more other type of work that would complement his strength. And on the other side, we're trying to feed him as much as possible. Because for such large bodybuilders to take a step forward, the most important thing is being able to turn over more nutrients. If you're able to give your body and have your body absorb more nutrients in a positive way, then that's how you're going to grow. It's not a matter of, using more performance-enhancing drugs or whatever. That's not going to take you there. You need to set the stimulus in training and make sure that will increase the need for more food, especially. And that's what we worked on. He got to the point where we had to back down from how much he was eating, because 24 hours weren't enough to get everything in. So I really made sure that he was, turning over and eating as much as possible. Yeah. And at the same time, we would, tweak the training in function of that. Scale it back when we reached a certain point where the body wasn't responding anymore. or less, and then go at it again. So we had like 2 big steps where we started with a certain amount of calories. He kind of reached a peak on that. Then we scaled back on it, sensibilized him again, made him hungry again. And then when we went back on, we increased from the first phase. And the second phase, I was pretty amazed how much he was eating. I mean, I wrote everything down, but, you know, having been a professional bodybuilder myself, I know what type of work that is. So it was truly amazing. Not only what he did, and truly actually was able to bring down.
I think one of the things he said about you when I interviewed him a few weeks ago, he said I think the reason he went with you as a coach rather than just having, he said, was your interest. He says your interest in him, like when he was just following your training protocols, he was like, he said you'd be asking him, how's it going? How are you gaining? He said, that's one of the reasons I went with Patrick. He says, because, you know, like you said, that trainer coach athlete relationship. He said you've got to have good communication. He said, and with Patrick, I felt very, very good communication, very supported. He would check up on me. He says, and for me, I think that level of support is what has made a big difference to him.
Yeah, that's a little bit what he also told me and what I feel. And you know, Giles, we all have genetic limitations, and at one point we reach a certain level where if you do not pay attention to little things, and if you don't have a constant support of somebody who is able to give you that input from the outside, you know, not it's different than when you are subjectively analyzing what you're doing and how you're feeling, and having somebody from the outside looking in and just objectively seeing where you stand and how you respond. And when you're at that level, like I was saying, it just is a daily type of scrutiny. I mean, you have to really be on top of the game every day, every week. Otherwise, you just flow with what genetics gave you and your hard work does. Yeah. So I think he felt that. And I know that from where he wants to go, and he doesn't want to just be an average bodybuilder. He wants to, you know, be somebody you can count on the Mr. Olympia.
Because the thing with James is we're
truly believing.
So the thing with James is he's still, what is he, 31, 32 now?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah, so he's still these early 30s. He's very, very young. So this is kind of good time for him to be stepping up. So, I mean, he said he's dropped down to about 290 at the moment. What do you see him competing at body weight wise? Because, I mean, what was he last year on stage? He was about late 260s, maybe 267, something like that?
Honestly, I don't want to know where he was standing, because if you're trying to, you know, get fixed on what he was and try to be more, you kind of lose perspective of what he really looks like. So just rationally, if he's like 293 right now and he's not carrying a lot of body fat, but obviously you get that deep muscle separation and details, you have to drop weight, even if it's not always just fat weight. But right now, as he's looking, I don't really think that he will be below 270 pounds. It doesn't, I mean, he's 293. He's probably carrying, if anything, between 8 and 10% body fat. Absolutely not more.
That's a serious increase. I mean, that's impressive, because, I mean, he gets in very good condition. And he's, but like he was always kind of good, but I think now he's showing like real, like there's talk of him, like, because obviously the British bodybuilders, you got Samson Dowder, you got Nathan D'Asher with 6 pro wins, 7th in the Olympia, you know, and he's really looking to step up and go for being the UK's #1 bodybuilder. So where do you see him kind of his career going in the next year or two? Realistically,
you know, I really don't want to look too much ahead. That's sometimes a little dangerous, because you lose kind of focus of what is just in your near future. So right now I'm just really focused on his next show, and making sure that he shows what really he can, and show the improvements that he has made in these 4 or 5 months of season work. So I think the sky's the limit in terms of where he can go if we can stay on top of it, and can stay focused and keep doing what he is, the way he is doing it. So I really don't feel like making predictions, but I think, like I said, there is no limit to what he can do if he's able to keep going and progressing like this.
Are you impressed with his squatting prowess?
Well, I'm impressed with that he has been doing.
Right.
Not just with what he has been doing, but how he has done it. The level of commitment and just sheer focus that he has every day needs to be rewarded. I mean, if 1 + 1 gives 2, then what he's doing right now is giving me 3. So,
fantastic!
I can only be impressed.
That's good. He's such a year-round dedicated bodybuilder. He gets up like 4 a.m. to do his cardio year-round, and it's good to see that he's really, really progressing. Okay, well that's enough talk about James. Let's talk about Nicolas Vulio, because you've done something that it's like, remember when Rowley went over to Q8 in 2013? He put about 30 pounds on, and then he came out bigger. But for me, his waistline blew out, and the kind of shit, he went up in size. But for me, it went on too much too quick. And I thought, oh, that's it. That's Rowley done. Comes back in 2016. He comes in even bigger, but he manages to bring that waist in. That's an example of someone that has done something that I didn't think was possible. Now, with Nicolas, we had him on a few weeks ago. He said it was agony for him. He said he didn't even feel like it was even healthy for him to get down to 212, being ready being stage ready at like 225, 230, and like really suffering to get down. So you decided to take a year off, reset. Now I didn't think this reset thing was actually possible. And now, obviously, there's people saying his photos are Photoshop now with the waistline, and we know it's not. He's doing He's doing vacuums. He's starting from a prep weight of 230 to get down to 212. So, I mean, were you confident that taking that year off to reset his physique was? Were you 100% confident that you could achieve it? And obviously you have achieved it. Were you confident?
Yeah, 100% confident that he physically would be able to do it. Where I had my doubts, and actually we both had our doubts, is mentally.
Right.
You know, when you are such a large bodybuilder and you are used to carry that amount of muscle mass, the way you train, the way you feel, the way you live your everyday life is just different. So losing that and becoming almost a normal person, I mean, not normal as in terms of, nobody, but somebody who just goes regularly to the gym.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a professional bodybuilder anyway. That mentally really is difficult to accept because, people expect something from you. You live in a bodybuilding community where if you don't show up being a certain way, you get criticized. So you have to deal with that. That aspect I was more concerned with than actually the physical
Patrick,
aspect.
When obviously you took this decision, you'd made the decision together, he went with it. Did he ever resist at any point and say, Patrick, I can't do this. I need to get back into full swing. I want to get back up to a certain body weight or a certain level of size. I mean, I just wonder if there was any kind of, it was like a smooth transition there.
Never one day. And I actually was the one who,
okay.
No, I mean, actually, I was the one that at one point I got concerned that he was starting to like too much being normal again, and kind of lose that eye of the tiger and that aggressive mentality that you need to have as a professional bodybuilder. So I was kind of getting a little worried there for a moment.
Really? So what point was that?
Yeah. Probably last October, November of last year. So like a full year after he stopped everything. And I kind of got back to him more often and tried to tickle him a little bit.
Yeah. Send him pictures of like Flex Lewis's quads or something and say, come on, mate, you gotta.
No, I used to send his old pictures.
Oh, really?
Pictures that we taken together. Yeah, things like that. And trying to make him hungry again for more. But I didn't want to pressure him because that was something that had to come from him, and he needed to feel, because the work that you have to put in to get back to that level is not something easy, So I wanted to make sure he was ready. His life at the moment, was ready, that he could put everything in place where he needed to be, and it has been a progression ever since. It wasn't fast. He didn't come back fast. At the beginning, he was really doubting that he could bring it back.
Patrick, he said when he came on, he said it was a struggle mentally. He said physically it wasn't. He said, but mentally it was a struggle to kind of get back into that kind of, like you said, the eye of the tiger, that kind of killer mode, you got to have when you want to sort of go in and really not just go and exercise the weight train, you really go in to sort of build and really progress and move forward with your physique.
Yeah, especially because what you feel in training is totally different. Your strength is not there. Your pump is not there.
Yeah.
You just can't, do what you used to do. And that's frustrating. If you ever been an athlete and go back in the gym, that's really frustrating and hits you mentally. And we had to fight for it at least until March. I think where it really started to click was March, where he started to see his body, get rounder, get in that groove. He started to have more frequent, really good trainings, and he started to get confidence back. And I think right now he's at a really, really good point where he's feeling it, he's pushing it, his body's responding. He's actually, this next week, we really had to push calories down because he was kind of like growing into it again.
Because I know he's trying to hold it around 230. Like he doesn't want to start, because he used to have to start his prep at like 250. And he said, Giles, I'd be ready at 230. He said, then I'd have to like stress and like panic and worry about getting 18 pounds of. He said, and I'm not sure that was even mentally or physically healthy. He said, so I didn't. Yeah. And obviously he said when we interviewed him that he going open was never an option. Even though he could step on stage ready at 230 in the open. He's 5'5". Dexter Jackson's 5'6". So he wouldn't have been like a super short open. Bonac, he's probably the same height as Bonac, probably around give or take an inch.
Yeah, a little less, but he doesn't have the same structure.
Okay.
You know him. I think he has like maybe two poses where he has that flow to be in the open, but then everything else looks very compact.
Okay.
He's not wide enough. When a Bonac poses, like his back poses, he opens up. He takes up so much space on that height.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit what Nick is missing. He really has that 212 look, Yeah,
but hang on. Let's take Hadi as an example and William Bonac, now Flex Lewis. These are guys that aren't even going up to sort of, last year, obviously William Bonac was about 225 he dropped down to. Hadi was around 218, 220. Did you not even consider like trying him in an open show, or was it just like or for you, his physique just didn't look right at that weight?
Both. It didn't look right, and okay. I think if you're not convinced that you can win a show, there's no point of doing it. If you would have done an open show and placed 5th or 6th, what good would that do to him? So the point is get an Olympia qualification and maybe make some money in the process. Otherwise, why would you step on stage, especially if you have done what he has done and showed before? So that was really an aspect that we didn't consider because, being just average good in the open would not, give us anything. So I prefer him to be one of the best in the 212 than be just somebody in the open. Yeah. And he does not have that structure Hadi has, for example. If you remember the Portugal show where they really battled it out, Hadi was not only, conditionally, a step better, he was also structurally just wider, bigger. Yeah. He just takes up more space. And that's what you need in the open. And Nick doesn't have that. He can be one of the best in the 212. He can really be a truly.
I think he can. I think he can. And you know what? Like I spoke to Terence Ruffin, and he said, because he was 0.2 under the classic limit, and he said, no, I always want to stay in classic because I believe I can keep improving my physique, but the body weight not changing. Sean Ray proved that. Lee Priest proved that your body can just get better without you necessarily having to get bigger and heavier and heavier. So are you excited for? Because I saw these pictures the other day, and it's like. His waistline, like he said, it looks like a cartoon character on his Instagram. Someone said, like cartoonish, and it was being reshared on some other Instagram accounts. And they were saying he just looks like a cartoon character now with his waist now smaller, and he's got better flow and everything's still popping. Are you excited? And what are your next plans for Nicholas?
Well, he came down and trained with me 3 weeks ago, and. I'd only seen him through videos. And when I saw him in Rio, I said, fuck. I said, shit, this is, when you look at a bodybuilder, and I'm not saying it because I know I work with him and he's my one of my best friends. But, they're just bodybuilders where you just see and you say, holy shit. Not because they're the biggest or just because there's something to that physique where you just go, wow, this is special, And we went into the gym, started working out, and he took off his shirt, and I was like, shit. I mean, it's it's still dense, it's thick, it's three-dimensional, and the waist was like, and I was like, holy shit, this. In real, it's even freakier than in the picture. It doesn't translate in the picture at all.
How have you managed to keep his waist so small, though? It's like, because like now he's come back. I mean, I suppose the danger now and the worry for you guys, I suppose, is the waistline to start growing again, or is it just a matter of holding his body weight?
It's not, because he's eating like 40% less food than he was before.
Okay.
Like the way we're dieting now, he's probably an average of maybe 3,000, 3,500 calories. As where the last prep for the Olympia was probably around 4,000, even 4,500.
That's not a lot. It's not a lot.
So, no, I mean, there's a lot of food not going in that stomach.
Yeah.
And also, what we do with the prep is like less than half of what we used to do before. I mean, if I would tell people what he is doing for his next professional show, I swear, nobody, not even you, would believe me what we were doing.
You've actually told me by text before, and I do believe you. Actually, I do believe you because, the kid's just a workhorse. I mean, he's you said to me a few times. You said like I've never seen someone like he's such an intense trainer. He's so dedicated. He's so focused. He's so easy to work with. He's a real he's a real unique athlete in that respect.
Yeah. I mean. We have done this for 8 years now.
Yeah.
So I'm not even giving him training guidelines. I'm just saying, do more or do less. Do heavier or do lighter. And he knows exactly what to do. So, like, for example, we got to the point in March where he was clicking again. I said, hey, Nick, now you need to add some weight on that, bar. Make your work less metabolic and just go straight heavy. And he was doing, 220 kilo squats for 10 reps. He was, wow. I mean, he's really short. I mean, that's a lot of weight for somebody like that.
Yeah.
And he was bench pressing again, 450 pounds. And it's like, okay, now it's enough. Now just put in more metabolic work.
Yeah.
So make your...
Is he competing this year?
Make your trainings... What?
Is he competing this year?
Yannick is competing in Alicante.
Oh, he's doing Alicante. Oh.
Yeah, he's 10 weeks out.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. I think I knew that. Did I know
I'm
that?
desperately trying to get his weight down.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be as much of a struggle as it was in 2018, because he said that was a real, they said that was very stressful, trying to, like your physique being ready and it's sort of having to kind of just starve off weight almost and dehydrate it off. And must have been awful.
But that's what I thought. And we went down to 227 like 1 week ago. Mm-hmm. And then we did another week of really good training, and he went back up to 230 with the same diet. So this week I had to push him down like real hard. He's doing like 150 to 180 grams of carbs the whole week almost, because the weight is not going down.
He's such a talented athlete. I'm really excited to see, because I think now that there's a real, Kamal said this is his last year, so I'm hoping he'll get the win again this year. But I think there's a real flex moving on now. And I think there's a real kind of I think that the 212 is ready for a new crop of athletes to come through, So I think Nicholas and Angel Calderon, I think are the two, I mean, maybe because they're European, but they're the two that kind of I think are really going to make an impact this year at the Olympia.
Yeah, Angel looks amazing. He's a really good athlete. He has taken some big step forward too.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Ian Valliere, who took second at the Tampa yesterday. How do you feel about that?
Very sad, very disappointed.
Why? Why though? I saw you write this on Instagram, and I wanted to discuss it because I want to hear your perspective.
Well, simply because coming in the show, I really had the feeling that he would show something he hadn't before. Mm-hmm. Both did. I mean, the prep went easy. I mean, really easy, and he looked really, really good, improved until probably Friday afternoon. And everything from there, I just lost control. the body did not respond to anything logic that we would try to do.
I've seen him fuller, Patrick. I've seen him, like when he did his most muscular, everything looked a bit flat.
I mean, not a bit. It was like extremely flat.
Yeah, he looked like he just like sometimes, you know, when sometimes they were bodybuilders like mess up on diuretics, or they go overboard with their water cut, and they just kind of go like that. Because I was looking at all the progress pictures, and he was looking full and round, and you know, like kind of like he was in 2018. He was very full and round there, but now he's kind of. He looked very streamlined, and his waist looked small, but nothing was really popping like I've seen on his physique before.
Yeah. I mean, if he would have stepped on stage like he was exactly 1 week out, like the pictures I showed you, it was game over. Right there, it was game over. It just, you know, sometimes you expect the body to respond a certain way, and it just doesn't. If you know, after so many athletes I've coached, I've seen it here and there go a bit that way. If you would ask me why, I would still not be able to tell you today. We talked about it with Ian. We did not cut water. I mean, he still had almost 4 liters of water on the day before the show. So we reduced it. We were like at 7.5 liters of water. Does he
get stressed or something? Or because I know a lot of athletes, sometimes they can, you know, sometimes it's the most relaxed ones that come in and peak perfectly but some of them, their cortisol levels go up and they just can't seem to fill out. I remember Flex Lewis said one year when he had a lot of stress on, he said, my body just didn't fill out because I was in a stressed out state. Yeah.
Look, I'm not going to, you know, try to hide behind any type of excuse. Yes, he was obviously feeling the pressure leading into the show. You know, it was a strange situation, training in a lockdown, not having contact with anybody.
Yeah.
Anything you would do was just go through social media. Actually, that's where you would live. You weren't even living your real life anymore. So everybody built up this battle between Hunter and Ian, and it really got to him. He really felt the pressure. He really felt, responsibility to deliver. Okay. I don't know if at the end, talking to him, yes, he was feeling very, very anxious. I don't know how much that had an impact on what we were. It might have.
So, I mean, I
still think that the way he looked at you was way too much.
So what? I mean, are you going to put him in Chicago, Portugal now? Because I think we really do need to see him at the Olympics. Because in 2018, I saw him as one of the probably the best guys that weren't kind of in the top 6. The one that kind of caught my eye, kind of like Patrick Moore did at Olympia last year. Everyone was talking about him. It was like, God, this guy he's really, he's one to watch. So what's the plans next for Ian next?
Well, right now he's flying back home to Ottawa. Yeah. And we said we were going to talk once he got home tonight. So, it wasn't a good point last night or this morning to talk about anything. He needs to digest, metabolize everything that kind of went through to see where he's at, what his motivation and feelings are. And we're going to talk about that and then decide what to do. I really personally want to see him on stage because I know that that what we saw last night was nothing like what he can be. So
if you know that he can,
I'm very disappointed.
I mean, surely if you're frustrated thinking he could and should have looked better, and he can be better, then you've got to get him in another show. Get him in Portugal. Get him Chicago. What about the New York Pro? I mean, surely you'd like to get him in Portugal because then at least you can be there and you can be hands-on and you can be, because that's important for when you got to be with your athlete. It's especially if he's feeling pressure and he's feeling a bit anxious, and obviously now there's probably even more pressure on him now to qualify. I would love to see him do Portugal. Look,
what I would like is one thing. And what he needs to feel it. You can't force an athlete in trying to do something because of points or because you need to. It's something you have to really feel and be ready to do the daily work he has to do. And look, we have done updates for the past 5 months, every single day, at least once a day, sometimes twice.
Really?
Leading into the show, the last days, I was in constant contact with him 3-4 times a day. The day of the show, probably like 7-8 times in the 5-hour range
Really?
before he stepped on stage. Yeah. But that is not me being there, because like I was asking him, do you feel flat? And he was telling me, no, I don't feel flat. Even after prejudging, he came and said, look, I didn't feel flat on stage, you know? So it's really going back to the drawing board and trying to figure out what needs to be different. And we really remember last year Tampa, where he placed third behind Luke and Dexter.
Yeah.
I mean, he was really good there. He was not as full as he can be, but in my eyes, he was like almost the best conditioned athlete of the show. And it had some pop to it. It was really good. So actually what we did this time, always, looking at him, obviously, but we did more of everything. We ate more, we drank more.
Yeah.
So
that's always a good thing. Always a good thing.
Yeah, but the fact that he came in flat and us doing more of everything, it was just, it just doesn't add up. Yeah. So there needs to be there must be something else, that another variable that we need to find out. But he could have stepped on stage 1 week ago, and we didn't probably need to do anything else. So every prep is different, and if you try to emulate, or if you try to flow with what I've done your previous show, it just sometimes it just doesn't absolutely show the same thing.
Well, like with Nicholas and James, you got three such talented, passionate, driven athletes. They've got so much potential. I mean, I could see Ian. I could see Ian in like the 5 to 8 spot at the Olympia, like this year, next year. I really see him in that kind of echelon. Like the second level, like knocking on the top 5 of the Olympia. I think he's really, really, really good. So I wanted to get you on to talk about those three kind of significant athletes. Because we've had you on before talking about technical things and protocols and stuff like that. So I just wanted to get a little update, because that's the three biggest talking points for me. So I just wanted to get on and see where you kind of see their futures going now in their respective categories. So just keep doing what you're doing. It's I feel like you're constantly stepping your game up now with your coaching and everything. I feel like you're getting more and more recognition, because there's a lot of good coaches around the world, and sometimes they don't really get that recognition until they work with that big athlete. Like when Sybil worked with Rowley, or Neil Hill worked with Flexless, they were doing what they were doing for years and years and years and years before that, to a very, very successful level. So I feel like you're kind of finally getting the recognition you deserve now, because you're a very, very good coach, and you're very, very respective of people's things like their health and their kind of their lives and their personal lives and stuff like that. And it's I think that's a really important element of what you do, rather than just telling someone how to train or how to eat.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate it.
Okay, then. And it's still
I hope that stays up even after yesterday.
Sorry, mate. Yeah. No, he'll. I think he'll qualify. I think get him some food. Let him regroup. Get him in a show. Go win Chicago or Spain or something like that, and get him in the Olympia and get him in that sort of the first couple of call outs, because that's where he really belongs, mate. I really believe that. And as for James, I think he's got potentially could win shows this year, and Nicholas absolutely could be in the top 5 at the Olympia. I think that's just a given. So very exciting, mate. Are you excited for all your athletes?
Oh, I am. I'm living a dream, Giles. I mean, I don't work. Mm-hmm. I'm busy like 20 hours out of 24, but I don't feel like I'm working. I'm stressed off my ass, but I don't feel it.
Well, you're in a 5-star hotel Patrick. You're in a 5-star hotel in Riccione. I think you're doing okay for yourself, mate.
Yeah, but the problem is my wife is on the beach. I spend like 12 hours a day.
And you're here talking to me about bodybuilders. So.
Yeah. No, not right now. I mean, these past 3 days I've been in the room probably, 14 hours a day.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Really? I mean, I have clients and they need my feedback. Of
course.
It's one aspect of the job that I like, is that you are free. You do what you want to do when you want to do it. Yeah. But on the other side, you have to be accountable and take responsibility and make sure that everybody gets to hear from you and you stay on top.
Of course. And sorry,
that's 16 hours a day.
Yeah. Also, your partner Sylvia Scaglione, women's physique pro, is she going to be competing again, or is she? What's the plans for her?
Oh, she is tickling, and she's is talking about competing every day. She really wants to do it. Actually, she wanted to start to prep just before the lockdown, and then with everything happening, and we said, it's just not worth doing what you need to be doing if you're not sure that you can compete. So I think this year she won't, but she still wants to do this one show and show what she can do and improve on that bad showing she had in Fort Lauderdale last year.
Still looked good though. She looked very, very good. I mean, she looked amazing when she turned pro. Her condition was out of this world, mate. Absolutely. And the way she transformed her physique, it was just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, well, I wish you both all the best, mate. I'll definitely see you in Alicante, and I hope to see you at the Olympia.
I hope so too.
All right, then, mate. Give a big hug and a big sloppy kiss to Sylvia for me, please.
Really appreciate it, Giles. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Yep.
Hope be able to talk to you also outside at a TV internet show.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't recorded this. We're just chatting. So.
Okay.
All right, Patrick. I'll let you get back to the room or the beach or whatever you want to do.
Thank you, man. Giles, really appreciate it.
Take
nice
care.
Talking to you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Patrick.
Have a great day, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And welcome back to MD Global Muscle here at the On the Rise Media Studio with me, your host, Giles Thomas. And we are joined all the way from Body Limits Gym, Charlie Claremont and Abs Birchie. Yay, Charlie! Charlie, 21.3 years it took.
Yeah. You good?
I'm really good, mate. I'm really good. Finally, I'll be honest, I'm going to have to call you out now because I had to get Abs to organise you because we had a conversation about 6 weeks ago and you went, oh, just give me a few weeks. We'll sort it out. We'll let me lock down after. So, and I was getting impatient. So I'm afraid I had to bypass you and go to Abs to get this sorted. But thank you, Abs, for making this happen because I'm really happy I got Charlie on now.
Yeah, the main thing, it's Charlie you need to talk to, not me.
Okay, well, you can sit there and watch. So, Charlie, how are you, mate?
Sorry?
How are you, mate?
Oh, yeah, I'm good, mate. Since when was it? A few weeks ago, we had a telephone conversation. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it was pretty wild times back then. Everyone was like, what's happening in the world? And as we were discussing, you sort of, going back to nature, and it was nice, wasn't it? And
yeah.
So it's, how it should be. So nice and calm. That's what we want.
Yeah, because obviously we had a conversation when everything like the full lockdown was in effect. Yeah. And it was kind of like, it's a very, very, I think a lot of people have come through it kind of more in a more positive place, which is nice to have something come from kind of a negative, kind of stressful situation,
Indeed, yeah, definitely. We're going through strange times now. The sort of consciousness in the world is shifting to the good side.
Yeah.
And this is what we've needed for a long, long time. God willing, it will, we'll get to that good place. So, we just obviously got to go through, a little bit, to put it crudely, shit before we get to the flowers, mate.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure things will get better eventually. So
definitely.
There's always a silver lining.
Yeah.
I mean, it for me, it's been like, because I'm stuck out in not stuck, I love it out here in the kind of the northern countryside. So I was kind of more unaffected than kind of people in the south where there's higher population density and maybe there's more restrictions. And so where do you live now, Charlie? Tell us where you live.
Cambridge, mate. So.
Oh, you're Cambridge?
It's quite, it's where I live, it's not, I say it's in a village, it's not densely populated, but it's starting to, let's say, because obviously if someone wants to sell their garden, they'll try and put 10 houses on it. You know how it's been. So
yeah.
So any bit of land that they see that they're trying to grab it and develop it, But yeah, on the whole, it's not, like too urbanized. So still got plenty of greenery, trees around, and that's how I like it. As we were saying, it's nice when you can just chill. You're not constantly, all the time, in top gear, revving the engine, so chill. And then you actually appreciate what you've got around you.
Yeah, totally agree.
You smell it, and, you're a lot more calmer.
So the lockdown didn't affect too much, did it?
It did. I wasn't, everyone was saying, Abs and I had...
Charlie, did you even notice we were locked down?
Sorry?
Did you even notice we were on lockdown?
Yeah, I know where you're going with... No.
Yeah.
What lockdown?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a hibernation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
So, Charlie, now, I mean, I is this your first proper interview with a bodybuilding media outlet in how long? Because you retired from the pros in 1997. Have you done any sort of formal interview in the last 23 years?
No, because I've always, as you know, I've always tried to avoid them. Right?
Yeah.
And you know it, right? The thing is, the only reason I'm actually in a gym, right, is because of this man. This is why anything I do...
I just pull him back.
Yeah, he's the one that's pulled me back.
Yeah.
Okay. And, I've got Abs to thank for this, because really, I was at the point where I thought, I've done what I wanted to do. Get out of Dodge and just let's see where the universe takes me. And but this man, he loves this. He doesn't need to do it. He doesn't need to do it, right?
We're just bodybuilding,
right?
Same as Charles.
But seriously, he doesn't need to do it, okay? And there's times when I've said to Abs, listen, Jesus, he's paperwork problem. I said, look, Jesus, doesn't this do your head in? Of course it does, but he says, you know what?
It's what he knows. It's what he knows. It's what he loves. You're drawn to it. So then, Charlie, first of all, I'm privileged that you've. I mean that genuinely. I'm privileged that you've actually said yes to doing this interview. And I really do appreciate this, because this is kind of a big deal for me. Like, you retired in '97. I know that you used to come over to the Metrex shop in '99. Yeah. No, I was working for Metrex and Dorian Yates, and there was a British newspaper, and you used to be friends with the owner name. And I used to work in this because I used to run like the distribution and everything for Metrex, and I used to run like a retail store. And one day, Charlie came in, and I think you spent all day helping me seal all the subscribers, all the envelopes. You spent all day with me, and of course, you're like one of my heroes, And I'm like, wow, I'm sat here with Charles Clairmonte. And the girls from the store next door, they would maybe offer me a coffee maybe once a month, and that's if I had to beg for it. Every hour they'd be coming, oh, do you want a coffee, Giles? Do you want a coffee? And Carleen, do you know what they used to call him? Mr. Eyes and Thighs. That's what they used to call him. Mr. Eyes and Thighs. And they used to like fall over themselves to get... So I was very well stocked on coffee that day, let's just say that.
But the thing is, right, I never even got to hear this, right? So... You see, you got all the intel. I didn't get that. I was just your lackey.
Yeah, you were my lackey. Charles Clairmonte was my lackey for the day back in '99.
I enjoyed being your lackey.
Oh, stop. Yeah, and then obviously, like 21 years, in 21 years, you've kind of just come completely off the radar. And then the last couple of years, I saw you pop up at Body Power. I remember when I was working with Ronnie Coleman, and you came over, and I said, come over and say, Ronnie was really pleased to see you. He was like, hey, Charlie, he was... And then you've kind of started to slowly, you're doing some posing classes, and you're doing some stuff. You're kind of slightly... like getting back involved into the scene. What changed? What was it? Was it Abs that brought you into that? And how's that going?
Yeah, it's definitely definitely this man's fault. Definitely, right?
Tell
I
us.
feel the pain for it.
And because, you know, when I left, I got out of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I went through a good 5 years of just being a bum, a drifter. And I don't mean that I was on the streets, right?
Yeah. You had no purpose.
Or you just thought, well, what am I going to do now? You know, ex-bodybuilder, you know, what do we do? Everyone was going. See, unlike the US, over here, things, as you know, Giles, it's structured differently, right? Most of the guys get out, they get their own gyms, they get into supplements, etc., etc. Yes, it happens here, but in a sort of like a smaller percentage of it guys do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not as big as America. Back then, I mean, obviously as time's gone on, things have changed and progressed over the years. But, you know, for me at that time, you know, there wasn't, I thought, people said, why don't you open a gym? And I'm thinking, open a gym? I mean, I've got to be there from before the birds get up and after the birds have gone to bed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, gyms can be a nightmare. Hence, going back to what I was saying, abs and pile of bills, etc., right? So for 5 years, as I said, I'm just sort of drifting along.
You used to pop into the gym?
Yeah, I mean, I used to, you know, intimately go and bother abs and so on. So, you know, in short, really, I suppose people will go, look, can you train me? Can you do this? Can you do it? And then okay, right, I'll get, because I had to do something.
Yeah.
If I hadn't have done something, you know, being just drifting is a road to nowhere.
Yeah. But didn't you do some, I remember in 99 you said you were looking to get into things like close protection.
Well, look, as you know, without going too deep into other stuff that I've done,
yeah,
you know, I work with some people who, from back in the day, in my military day, we would work with, you know, getting guys trained up for all that sort of stuff.
That's right, yeah.
But everyone used to think that was what I then went on to do full time. I didn't. It was, you know, bumped into some guys of old, and it was just a short-term thing. But it wasn't something I really wanted to go down that road with.
Charlie, was it? Sorry to interrupt. Was it a paratrooper you were?
Yes.
Paratrooper. Right. Okay. Sorry. Just to add some context.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's. But no, I did. It wasn't a full-time thing for me. There was on a couple of occasions where I've had to help a few people, but it was just a couple of people, friends, got into a bit of a sticky situation. But that said, that's not my gig. That's not what I do, and you know, I leave that to the guys who do it professionally.
So.
Right. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, going back, I mean, so the last contest you did was the 1997 Mr Olympia, is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. Didn't you do some of the Grand Prix that year? Did you do some of the Grand Prix 97?
Yeah, I think, because after the Olympia, you get the Grand Prix tour.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, as you know, Giles, things were changing. Because I think, as I remember, the weeders were going public at that time. There was I think, float on the stock market. Yeah. And I think the media side of it was going to be bought by who do you?
AMI bought it in 2003, if I'm correct. 2003, 2004.
Yeah. So things were changing.
Yeah.
And plus, as you know, they were doing a lot of drug testing and so you compete, you do your P test, and if you came up positive, there were all kinds of sanctions, etc. So I thought, look, this is really just not going good. I mean, the whole thing was sort of, it felt to me, it was sort of trying to find its new feet.
Yeah. So you felt like you maybe didn't fit into that new shift.
Well, because we're being reconfigured.
Okay.
Now is the time to get out, because
right.
Look, you probably saw. I don't know. You might remember this, Abs. There was a point where guys were coming in. So the ones that could get around the testing,
okay,
right, were coming in fuller. The ones that, let's say, couldn't get around the testing were coming in leaner, flatter, and I was one of those guys. Yeah. And then sort of thinking, hang on, it's night and day here. You stood next to a guy that's way heavier than you, and it's like, this isn't gonna. Yeah, but
Charlie, sorry, I have to interject here. The one thing, your calling card, what you were known for, was your lines, and that's what I mean. Look, you beat guys double your size year after year because. I mean, I've heard it said in online and just in the last few years, saying the most perfect physique of the 90s. It was like the two names that came up were you and Flex Wheeler. They said like for actual size, like proportions in midsection, especially now the classic physique has come along. The one that really embodied all the elements of classic and open pro size were you and Flex Wheeler.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, Flex. I mean. Talking of shape and that look, he's the guy for me that he epitomised it, right? Yeah. So I chalk him right up there. 93 was.
I'm a classic 93.
Exactly.
The best physique of all time.
Yeah. Can I show you something, Charlie?
I remember opening a magazine and seeing. Yeah. Certain poses, well, pretty much all poses of Flex at that time when he won that.
Yeah.
I thought, well, who's going to beat him?
Yeah. It was another Brit that beat him, wasn't
it? No disrespect to Dorian, because he changed the whole thing, right? He went in there and he just went, well, this is the new age here, right? But Flex, there wasn't an angle that you could go, whatever pose he did, he nailed it. 3/4, front on, back, you just went, I hate you.
After we spoke that few weeks ago, we spoke about Flex because I told him about his foot amputation. You sent me a message and I forwarded it to him, by the way, and he was very very thankful, very grateful for and he sent his regards and love back. So it was he really appreciated the fact that you said that to me to pass on.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean the thing is he was an outstanding bodybuilder, right? And you have to give the guy credit. When you look, there's a lot of really good guys out there, but because I, went through, he was around when I was around, I saw him and I competed against him, with him, and, you really got to give the guy, put him where he should be. And, I admire his physique. Now,
in 1993, you said that there was, when you said that who could beat Flex Wheeler in 1993, I think you know where I'm going with this. Ab said, yes, Dorian did. Now, in 1993, there was another Brit that beat Flex Wheeler in 1993, and I want to show you something. This is it.
hang on. I can't.
Yes, I remember that.
I'm gonna show this to the camera as well. Is that? Can you see that?
All right. Okay.
Okay. This is a photo I took at the 1993 British Grand Prix. You're shaking hands with Flex Wheeler. Kevin Avone's announced in third, and he's going, like he's not happy with third. Flex is Milos Sarjev's on the left. He took fifth place. Sonny Schmidt was fourth. Now that was like, okay, there's another question. Do you know what you've got in common with Albert Beckles and Eduardo Kowak?
Naba?
No. You're the three athletes that in 1 year have gone from last place in a contest to first place.
Oh, right. Okay.
Did you know that? Because, okay, let me give some Charlie, let me give some context. In 1990, Al Beckles came last at the Niagara Falls Pro. In 1991, he came first. In 1983, Eduardo Kowak came last in the British Grand Prix. In 1984, he came first. And in the 1992 British Grand Prix, the one that Dorian won, one day after winning the Helsinki Olympia, you were coming over from NABA, and they only gave you your pro card, what was it, 6 weeks before the British Grand Prix? So they said you've got to compete. So you prepped kind of in a rush, and obviously didn't look that great.
I remember that.
Tell us.
Come on, Charles, you're being nice here, right? I looked hit.
Well, I think you made up for it the year after.
It looked like I've just walked off the street, right? Took my clothes off, right? Turned my underpants round so as you didn't see the wide fronts, and stood on the stage. You saw me come out and hide behind people.
Yes.
It was that bad.
So what was that like? Because obviously you got your pro card, and what would that feel like when they said, you've got to compete in 6 weeks? I mean, going up against like the day out, because it was the day after the Mr Olympia in Helsinki in Finland, so you had the full Olympia lineup apart from Sean Ray Labrada.
Oh man, look. I
remember when Charlie came back.
I'll tell you what.
He had to train early mornings when no one's around.
Yeah, I honestly, because I'll give you the run up to that.
Okay.
I'd left NABA. Okay, I'd done everything. Thought it's time to check out. Okay, I had a good run. Great organisation, great, lovely people there.
Yeah.
Honestly, some great days. Mm-hmm. Now, I thought, right, that's it. Everyone's going, why don't you go over to the IFBB? I said, no. I said, there's too much politics between the two organisations. I said, if you look, with the exception of Arnold, if you look at all the guys that have gone from NABA to the IFBB, you're basically making up the numbers. Okay, Brian Buchanan did fairly well.
Seventh in Olympia. Seventh.
Another good physique. And Edward Kowak, he went over. He had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But on the whole, there was always that political about it. So I said, look, no, I set out to get the universe, and I only wanted to really win one universe. As you know, I was fortunate enough to get 4 of them. And how many
amateur and how many pro?
Sorry?
How many amateur and how many pro universe titles did you win? And this was in the day when it was a really sought after title.
What was it? One amateur, 3 pros. That's it. Yeah.
I can remember. You had to think about that then.
But as you know, the pro body was and that was predominantly amateur, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, done all of that, and so people saying, why? I mean, no, political, blah blah blah. What happened over let's say that sabbatical, let's call it, right? As you atrophy, your body atrophies, all the aches and pains, you know this, right, will start to come back and haunt you. So I got to a point in all of this where I was in absolute agony. I thought, do you know what? I think I would go to the osteopath, chiropractor, get in the car, get home, couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't even walk. I could not, for example, I couldn't get out of the chair, this chair now. If I was like that,
really?
It would take me about 5 minutes for my body to be at a point where I could start shuffling.
So, sorry, when was this? Was this when you were prepping for the 92 British Grand Prix? Is that correct?
No, this is before.
Before?
The IFBB got in touch. So anyway, had weight. Then one day I got a phone call, and it was Wayne D'Amelio on the end of the phone. And I thought, is this some kind of joke, right? Because I thought, what's this guy here? Firstly, I didn't give him my number or anyone my number. Secondly, I didn't approach the IFBB.
Yeah.
Most guys do. I didn't. So Wayne calls me, in short, says, look, you know, you're interested in competing with us. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I said, look, you know.
Go on then.
Yeah, well, not even that. I said, look, there's too much politics involved.
Okay.
And, no, but Wayne sold it to me in the end.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I reluctantly took it on, but I still had that in my head. Listen, right, I know what I'm going into here. There's no way you're going to ever win. I didn't expect to win a thing.
So,
okay.
So hang on a minute. How long did you prep for that British Grand Prix? Because thing is, it sounded like you were going in with quite a negative mindset. So did you kind of almost decide even before you'd done it that you weren't getting? I'm just wondering why you committed to it if you weren't 100% all in.
Well, only because, you know, when you are spending, about two and a bit years, sort of semi-crippled, if you like, you're thinking, look, I'm going to give it a go. Perhaps if I start training back, right, you know, I can, hopefully it will do me the world of good, right?
Okay.
Because you know, I'll get the muscle stronger and I should be fine. Thankfully, that was the case, right? It did happen that
way.
So, but yeah, that was part of the reason. And I thought, well, what have you got to lose? Okay, you've got more to gain, so give it a go, right? See what comes out of it. And one of the things I said when Wayne and I met was, look, I'm going to need at least a year to get ready. So he said, look, I'll call you. Anyway, I'm just going to condense the story. I said, look, I'm waiting, thinking he might have just thought, you know what? No, I've met him. We don't need him. Right? Then the phone rings, says, it's in 6 weeks.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
He hasn't been ready.
I said, Wayne.
I need a year.
I said, a novice could beat me now.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, Wayne, come on, Charlie. You know, and I'm like, oh, God. I said, Wayne, these guys are coming straight from the Olympia.
The day after.
Yeah, and I've got to stand next to them. I will be the laugh of the town here.
Lamb to the slaughter.
Yeah,
literally, yeah.
And some. Wow. I would rather on that day have been a lamb in a, you know, around me. But now, I got there and I thought, oh God Almighty, here we go. I said, Charlie, look, because Wayne said to me, he said, Charlie, it's important you do this.
Yeah.
Now, I have to do it now.
What reason did he give?
I'm thinking, really? So I get there, going, you know, backstage at, where was Nottingham?
Yeah.
I'm walking through, looking for the changing area, and it's got on the door, Mr. Universe.
Nice.
Oh, here it is. This is where it starts. All the the pee taking.
They
right?
expected the old Charles.
Yeah, I know. And I thought, who's put that up there?
Dorian. Was it Dorian?
But I can't remember. Were you there?
I was at the 1992 British Grand Prix. Yeah, I was 16 years old.
I can't remember this because I went out there shell-shocked. Okay? Right? Did they introduce me as a former Mr. Universe?
I can't remember, mate. I can't remember. I was too excited about seeing Dorian.
Because I thought they did it. For some reason, I've got that in my head.
They might have.
And I'm thinking, you know how you stood behind the curtain? And
yeah.
One at a time. You got to come out, strike a pose. And then,
with the dry ice and the archway, and then they left Dorian to the end because this was before the pre-internet days, and they said, and they paused and they said, because not a lot of people knew that Dorian had won the Olympia one day before. There was rumours, So when he came out and they said, and now the new Mr. Olympia, and I remember it's one of the most amazing memories I've got from all my years of being involved in bodybuilding. Just the thunderous applause, and then you're coming out with 6 weeks prep, labeled as Mr. Universe on the door.
Oh, this is the thing.
Yeah.
You will remember this now. So everyone's coming out, and then they go. Obviously, I'm now the next one in the breach.
Yeah.
To go out, and I'm stood there thinking, oh, what am I doing here? What am I doing?
6 weeks prep.
Shit. So they didn't say that. They went, right, the next contestant, number so-and-so, Charles Clairmonte, right? And everyone, and I walked out, and then it went,
whap, 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 whap. But yeah.
I was like screaming off the stage going, I had 6 weeks.
Yeah, but Charlie, we're laughing and joking about it, but you know what? The fact that you committed to that and you still did it, even you had like some maybe preconceived notions that there was going to be politics involved, you were going to get some shit for being nabber, and you weren't going to get a fair look in. You still showed up, mate. You still showed up. Now,
You're being kind to me now.
I'm being very kind to you. No, but I'm leading to somewhere. I'm leading to 1993. Now, as I said, that for me is probably one of the greatest turnarounds in bodybuilding history. It has to be, certainly within the pros, to go from where you went from. The fact that you even had the balls to get on stage, with just 6 weeks prep. I think that really says a lot for your determination. So tell us about 1993. Just take us through, just for the people who aren't familiar with your career, because that probably that has to be the highlight year of your entire career.
Well, the thing is, right, as you know, it's okay. So we get, just quickly before I go on to that part of it, we then did a string of Grand Prix.
Yeah.
This is when I went out looking like a racing snake, right? Mm-hmm. And we were, who was it? Someone, I forget who said, Joe's coming. Joe's going to be in the one in the south of France. Joe's going to be.
Oh, wow,
there.
Joe Weider.
Yeah, right. So, he'll get to see you, blah, blah, blah. I thought, well, oh, really? Oh, he's going to be here. And true to form, right, Joe's in the audience, and I've been introduced to go out. I'm going out doing my routine and stuff. And I don't know if it's Peter McGough or Chris Lund or who it was. I think one of those. I think Chris Lund may have said to him, oh, this is the new. No, Joe says, who's this guy, Charles Clairmonte? So when I came out, Chris or Peter McGough says, there he is. And he looked, and apparently Joe said, he needs to go back to NABBA.
I thought you were going to say, let me see him. Like, he's got a lovely shape. This guy's got potential. But he actually said, go back to NABBA.
It's that cold, right? Cold. And I forget who told me. I think it was either Chris or Peter, as I said. But
yeah,
that's how cold that was. But yeah, moving on to 93. I mean, obviously, we got all that out of the way. I went back and I thought, right, we need to start sparking here, Charlie. Just,
so were you feeling despondent? Were you feeling disappointed, or were you feeling really kind of like fired up now? Like, right now I'm going to prep for a show for 6 months and I'm going to really show them. So it actually gave you a bit of a kick up the arse then, by the sounds of it.
Well, as I always say, right, in all sort of anything negative or any catastrophe, you flip it over, there's always some good side. There's always the yin and yang. So yes, that was a spur to right, get your game on here. Now, so of course, I trained, things started working, and as you know, Night of the Champions was is more or less the gateway to the pro world in the IFBB.
Yes, that's the big one. That's one of the big ones.
Who is going to be in the top 10? And who's the other guys, right?
Yeah.
And you know how cruel. I mean, when Wayne was running it, the audience, the New York audience, are hard. They're tough guys, right? In terms of, they don't take prisoners. If they you're crap, tell you you're crap, right? Yeah. And of course, I get there again. I'm like backstage, getting ready. We're all lined up, going out one at a time. I'm hearing all this, get off,
Oh no!
I'm like,
did your heart sink?
Who's on stage,
Yeah.
And of course, this poor guy comes off, and I'm like, oh God, this is cruel here, right?
Yeah.
This is like the gladiatorial arena here, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, eventually my time came. I went out, and thank God, unfortunately, it went well.
It did.
But then the placings. So I'm thinking I'll be happy for place, Because you can't be going out there sort of like.
You should won that one.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you were still, even though with.
No, you should have won that night, champion.
Oh, were you there? Were you there, Abs?
I came. When did I come?
Third.
Third or fourth.
You placed third.
I think fourth. Yeah.
I'm sure you were third.
Even
the what? Sorry.
I'm sure you were third in the Night of Champions 1993.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Or am I thinking about Ernie Taylor in 97? Shit.
I've got memory atrophy.
Yeah, well, gets to us all.
Anyway, so anyway, we done that. Everyone's going, oh, buddy, it should have been the other way round from wherever I was tonight. But yeah, but I was happy. Okay, so I qualified for the Olympia, done that, come in 7th on that.
You look for me that for the 1993 Olympia, that's probably one of the most iconic Olympias of all time. You had Flex Wheeler coming in, getting straight into second. You had Dorian took the sport to another level, coming at 257 pounds, and you came in such beautiful condition. I mean, you just the midsections, you just don't see those kinds of midsections, the abs and the everything. You just look like almost like Kamal. The intercostals and everything just looks so chiseled and flat. I mean, you were really like, if there had been a classic Olympia then and you would have made weight, you'd have been like, that was the epitome of what they probably wanted from a classic Mr. Almost kind of like what Sean Roden brought in 2018,
Yeah. I mean, it was
amazing.
You see, I've always been with bodybuilding. That was always my, if you like, how I saw bodybuilding, how it should be.
Yeah, you achieved that.
And it was. Then the whole thing just flipped over, and guys were coming in heavier, bigger, and that was literally the judging criteria from that point on, wasn't it? I mean, from when Dorian went in, and everyone was chasing that.
Yeah, everyone was chasing Dorian. Like, you know, then you had the Nasser and the Paul Dillettes, the guys who were kind of like, I mean, Lee Haney was only about 240 pounds, and that was like, he was just unbelievable for his for his time, the size. And then Dorian kind of came in at 257, absolutely shredded to the bone. And I mean, you kind of had guys like Lee Labrada who were still making top 5 in the Olympia. They were like, he was only like 180, 190, you know. So you kind of came in just at the tail end of that kind of. Where you could come in and make an impact. I mean, maybe if you'd have done maybe if you hadn't spent so long in NABA, and maybe you'd have done the 91 or the 1990 Olympia, you probably would have been top 6 there as well.
Yeah, I mean, people have said that. You know, exactly what you've said. You know, if you'd been at that point in time, things would have been different. But you know, it was just. I suppose I always look at things, you've got to look at it in the positive. And I think you know, I'd gone, it was the era of the Mass Monster. And for me, I was still the sort of classic type of physique. Now,
but that made you stand out as well, don't forget. Even though you weren't chasing the size, so you weren't trying to look like a Dorian or come in at 260, 270, because you're a tall guy, you're over 6 foot tall, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you'd have been like, you know, what was your stage weight? Because you weren't a small guy.
It varied really, because the heaviest off season I was about 23 plus stone. Right?
What?
Yeah, off season, absolutely, right? So
what, like 320 pounds?
Yeah, and I tell you what, it was the most uncomfortable time of my life.
No shit. Here he comes waddling up the stairs.
His shoelaces. He had to breathe in.
Yeah.
Wow. So I mean, what did you compete at? What, like 250?
Sorry?
You were about 250 on stage, though, weren't you?
I mean, I think at some point I was probably around 80, because I've got small bones.
You've got very small knees and small, wrists and everything, like Vince Taylor.
So around sort of, I think at one point I was about 18, the heaviest on stage, 18.
That's 254. 252. Sorry.
Yeah. And so, but it sort of varied, you know, I'd go up, down, you know, but it was just trying to maintain the condition when you're traveling as well.
Yeah.
As you know, it's you know, you're like this all the time.
Okay.
One day you're good, another day you're bad, and
so
you're in between.
Can we go on to the Grand Prix tours, because you're just saying there about traveling and maintaining. Tell us, because obviously you improved. You managed to what Charlie managed to do. You managed to, as it shows in this picture, you managed to beat Flex Wheeler, who won the Arnold Classic, won the Ironman, came second in the Olympia. You managed to beat all of them. You managed to leapfrog. You went from 7th in the Olympia to beating the second place Olympia guy, Flex Wheeler. You beat Kevin Levrone. I mean, you beat them consistently, didn't you? Tell us about that Grand Prix tour and how you managed to improve after the Olympia.
Well, again, what I did was I forget in what order. I think it's Germany, Spain,
Finland.
Was it? But the first one was, I think the first one was Germany, and I think the second one was Spain. I can't remember. And then we flew into London.
Yep.
And then, right. So the first two, I was coming in at, I think, 3rd or 4th, something like that. And yeah, and then I remember the promoter saying, "Look, Charlie, from I think 4th in one of them." And I remember the promoter saying from 1 to 4 should have been flipped, right?
Right, okay.
So I went, yeah, well, you know, what can you say, really? But thank you. I appreciate what you're saying, blah, blah, blah. Then you go to the next one. I forget. I think I was third.
Mm-hmm. Who were you jumping over though? Because you had like Kevin Navarro, Milos, Sonny Schmidt. Were you just starting to sharpen up, and they were starting to slip, and then you were kind of like swapping the placings? Is that what was happening?
Well, no, because what happened then when you start getting told that it should have been, the other way, you're starting to think, hang on, come on, look, I ain't gonna win the Olympia, all right? But come on, let's get it, let's get this right on it. So walking through Heathrow, I remember I was walking alongside Wayne. I said, listen, Wayne, this is going to be my last for you guys, because as I'm reading it and the feedback I'm getting shafted here. I said, look, I understand there's politics. No. I said, look, I understand there's politics here, and I don't expect to basically win the Olympia. But come on, right? And then I was seriously thinking of just...
Were you?
And, it's just, look, don't worry about it.
After the German Grand Prix, it was very...
Yeah.
So you said this to him when you flew into London, probably the day before the British Grand Prix, or on the day, or?
Before.
The day before. So the day before, you're like, okay, I'm going to call it a day.
The day was the British Grand Prix. And then obviously we get out there, we're competing, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, here we go. The numbers are, this is the top 5 or whatever it was at that time.
Yeah.
And numbers are being called out, right? And I'm thinking, I'm still stood here. And then we get down to the 3.
Yep, that's it. That's the moment when Kevin was announced in third. And as you can see, Kevin doesn't look happy, but you and Flex look very happy about it.
You see, so we're like, hey, here we go, right? Well, what's going on here?
So you were like, yes, I've made top 3.
Moving up now,
yeah.
Right? So I was expecting me third, and it would be between Kevin and Flex, right? Yeah. But then when who got called? Was it Kevin?
Kevin.
Third was Kevin. Second was Flex.
There's me and Flex. I'm thinking, whoa, hang on. And then Flex gets called out, and I'm like, what the heck?
Holy shit.
So now we're starting to cook on the gas, right?
Yeah. This time last year, you were stood in your Speedos, in your Y fronts, hiding behind the curtains, behind Dorian.
I know, I'm thinking, no, the underpants are now posing trunks,
yeah.
Right? So then after that, as we got, I forget, there was about 3, 4 more.
French Grand Prix, you won that.
Yeah.
And you beat Lebron as well there.
Right.
So you won 3 Grand Prix.
No, because it was Madrid.
Madrid first, yeah.
Yeah. So then there was that one, and then the Finnish one. The Finnish was the last one, wasn't it? Yeah. I see I need abs, because he's my...
he's your Charles Clairmonte fact checker.
No, honestly. These abs, a guy, Jimmy. They know, they can tell me what's what. They'll look at someone will remember that. I don't know.
I love it. Yeah.
So they've got a better memory than me. I just put it all, it's gone. I've done it, finished, see ya. So, yeah, I mean, that's how it was. I think the four Grand Prix wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's when I thought, okay, things are starting to, get some traction here.
Yeah. So
that was the impetus to just keep going. But yeah, I mean, I knew there was no win, Olympia. There was never going to be an Olympia win.
You never thought you were going to win the Olympia. Why was that? Was that because of Dorian, or way that the judging was going, or where you felt the physiques were being judged, or where the direction of the sport?
Yeah, I mean, when you get out there, and I was never one of these to. I've always said to guys, look downrange, right? Don't just live for this day in terms of start putting your health on the line. Yeah. You have to consider life after this, right? You have a family or whatever, you really cannot afford to mess your health up. Because all the way through that, the reason going back to the testing was because almost every competition that we went to, we competed at, there was always paramedics there.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah, hence why Wayne, right, implemented the testing.
Yeah, for diuretics.
Yeah, exactly. Because look what happened to Mohamed
Benaziz in '92. So did you ever any near misses with diuretics or anything like that, or any health issues from that?
Sorry?
Did you ever have any problems from things like diuretics or anything like that at the time? Because I know there were in IV and Lasix and all these kind of heavy diuretics that were kind of in vogue in the 90s. It was because everyone was trying to push the condition.
For me, I was always one that less is more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And put the hard work in, and I'm not going to deny, you use it, but don't, put your health on the line. That said, you get involved in, people saying, remember the New Bane thing, right?
Oh, yes, I remember that.
People saying, right, this is what the guys do. Then you find yourself going down that road. And you think,
It was a big thing in the 90s, and it took out a lot of very good bodybuilders. Yeah.
But going back to my point about thinking of your life after bodybuilding, you just can't put it out there and just be careless with it, because the thing is, as much as you love it, love the sport, and you want to do well at it, don't pay the ultimate price for it. Because, you win a competition.
Yeah.
Everyone is shaking your hand, taking pictures, signing this, blah, blah, blah. But you go back to your hotel room or you go back home, and that you're just you and your thoughts, right? And then till the next time. And the next time you might not be the one.
So, Charlie, were you quite conservative with your gear usage back in the day? Because you had a very classical physique. You weren't like an insulin blown out. You were a very chiseled, very detailed physique, which doesn't really come from the high dosage and the high insulin and high GH use. Were you quite conservative? Because you just said less is more there. So I'm just trying to get a feel.
I mean, yes, I did touch on a lot of this stuff, but very, as you just, you accurately put it, it was just being very conservative, because I remember Wayne saying to me at the Arnold Classic, he said, listen, Charlie, don't come in with a distended gut.
Yeah.
He said, Arnold does not like it, because
that would have ruined your physique, mate. Because thing is, your arms, your midsection, everything, that was your calling card. That was your, the way you did that overhead bicep pose. If you'd have had a thick midsection or a bloated midsection, your entire physique would have spoiled the entire picture.
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
So I must admit, I lived, to get that. I remember Wayne coming to my, to my room and saying, "Listen, Charlie, don't go out there." He said, "Let's have a look." I showed him. I said, "Wayne, I feel flat."
And he was flat.
I was flat, right?
And you couldn't even use it.
Yeah. No, we couldn't use anything
because you could get tested for.
And I thought, I don't know. I mean, in your head, you're thinking, here we go now. This is going to be a fight out there. And, I didn't even expect to be in the top 5, let alone come in third on that one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how tight you had to be. No distinction. And we said, no, keep it like that.
Yeah. Did you Charlie, did you ever feel, obviously with everything kind of going, the Dorian Nasser, Paul Dillette, Jean-Pierre Fuchs, that kind of route, and you come in with such a classic looking physique, did you ever feel pressured to kind of push the drugs? Because there was less coaches around then, less knowledge maybe, and I think maybe everyone just assumed because so-and-so was so much bigger, it's because he was taking so much more. And that was, I remember I was around those times, But did you ever feel like you were, okay, we need to stay on gear all year round, or I need to double my doses? Did you ever feel that pressure as an athlete?
Well, yeah, I have to be honest. You do consider it, and you do up certain things, right?
Did it work?
The weight that I said I was off season.
320.
And so, but when your body starts to scream at you and go, I'm not comfortable here, you have to listen to it, because it's telling you, when you're walking around and your arms are numb, just in there, you're numb up here, and you just, it's and you're going, why is my hand feeling?
So what did you do? Just lower the dosage and drop a bit of weight, or were you pushing the gear even more then?
Just pull it back.
Yeah.
Right?
Pull it
because,
back.
As I said, always consider life after bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Right? Bodybuilding is a great sport, but be sensible about it. And don't win at all costs. And I know this. Look, I know they say, a winner will go over and beyond. But if you are, for example, participating, if you're playing football or you're doing a sport where you don't have to use this stuff, right? Yeah, by all means, you train, and do it. But when you have to use, let's say, stuff that's altering your body chemistry, you have to be sensible, right? And if you've got if you're married with kids, or you want to have kids down the road, or a life, right? Look at all the guys we know that have fallen foul to this.
Yeah.
Right? And when you hear it, exactly, as I said, they're put, and I understand it, because I come, I have been there where I've gone, throw caution to the wind, but then there's that in you've got to listen to yourself and go, don't be stupid. Do not do.
So your career kind of was, your pro career was literally 1992 to 97. Dorian Yates was 1990 to 97. Given that you were the kind of you were the top guy from NABA coming over, and then you were winning pro shows, winning 4 Grand Prix, making top 3 at the Night Champions, 7th at Olympia, and Dorian was kind of, almost their careers were kind of at exactly the same time. What was your relationship like with Dorian, given that you were both two, very, very kind of, because, the two best British bodybuilders really of all time, really, and you were both kind of at the same time. What was that like? Were you friends with Dorian, or did you?
I wouldn't say that we were tight. I would see Dorian at comps, we would say hello and stuff. Yeah. But Dorian's a focused guy, right?
Yeah.
And when he's there, he's there to win and to do the job. And you have to, respect that, and just don't get in his way with right? And what I mean by that is let him keep his head in the, he doesn't want to be talking rubbish. So
yeah,
I would never, I wouldn't bother any of the guys, but going back to, our relationship, it wasn't like, say, Milos and myself, because I love Milos, right? Yeah. He's a guy.
It's cool.
Still in contact.
Travel together.
Hang on. Milos was talking about you a few weeks ago, wasn't he, Kalim? Yeah, we was talking about you on. I had Milos on about 2 months ago, and he mentioned your physique as one of his all-time favourite physiques. In fact, he's in that picture with you. Actually, there he's on the left. He's right next to you.
Do you know what? Milos has he has a great physique.
Still does.
I've always admired his physique.
Yeah.
And do you know what? And the thing is with Milos back then, as I said to him, just quickly, I said, if I'd known, right, because I knew he and
Sonny Schmidt.
Sonny, that's it. They were buddies, okay? And I love Son, God rest his soul. But I just love the way they were. It was just, they were the guys I like to be around.
Yeah.
Okay? But yeah, I mean, I said to Milos when he was there, I said, listen, man, if I knew that, I didn't even know he was looking after some of those guys, right? I said, if I'd known then, Jesus, I said, I would have been on board with you.
Every
right?
year he was
Oh, really?
He worked the alchemy, didn't he?
Yeah. He was very knowledgeable, still is.
I did, but I just thought it was him and Sonny, and that was it. But if I'd known, trust me, it would have probably been a whole different thing then. So
I mean, obviously you and Dorian both retired after the '97 Olympia, obviously the Grand Prix tours or whatever. Did you have you ever reconnected with Dorian since? Because I know obviously you're both 23 years on now, and you're both kind of moved on to different things, and you're both kind of you've retired from bodybuilding. Have you ever reconnected, or have you ever sort of reached out to each other? Or because I think the two of you now would make really good friends.
yeah, I mean, whenever we've been, Abs and I, we go to the Body Power FIBO, and
we saw Dorian a few times.
yeah, we go over see Dorian and see the guys and stuff. But I've seen a couple of things with Dorian not so long ago, and he's in a different headspace now.
Completely.
I actually like where he's at, because I actually, I'm down with where he is.
What you mean? Like, are you talking about the ayahuasca?
No, just the way he sort of looks at life now.
Right. Okay. The spiritual side.
Yes, indeed. Right. And all the positive side of it. But yeah, I mean, going back to what you just said, the ayahuasca. I mean, I must admit, I have considered, right, that opening your mind up many moons ago. I thought about doing it because, without getting into too deep into the alternative stuff.
Well,
you just, as we said earlier, the world is the way it is and was at that time. It's changing, but I thought, you know what? It would be nice to see a different reality here, if it's a reality. Right?
I'll be honest. I think Dorian's. I get on much better with Dorian now since he's kind of been going through all this in the last couple of years. I think he's come out the other side. I think he's a much nicer person. I think he's a much. I felt I can connect with him. Like when I went to see him last year a couple of times, I had him on the show. I really felt like engaged with him like I'd never felt before. Because I don't know why he's quite a not standoffish guy, used to be, but he's very private, very insular. He doesn't kind of go, he's very like, you're in a circle, you're in it. If you're out, you're out. But like I felt like he was much easier to communicate with, and I felt like I had some really good conversations with him, and I felt like much more of a connection with him, So and I think that's because since he's been doing the ayahuasca and all these kinds of different things. So he does a retreat in Costa Rica. I'm sure he'd love to have you over, mate.
He's got a retreat.
He does an ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica. He does it.
But with that stuff, you see now, as I understand it, that stuff, right? You go to the Amazon.
Yeah. He does Costa Rica. He does one in Costa Rica.
The long huts, and that, you've got guys there that literally they don't understand what they're looking for if it goes wrong.
Yeah, shaman.
They're just walking up and down, checking on people. See that they don't just, like, remember the old acid where people
having a bad trip.
They never come back from it.
Yeah.
They're still living in La La Land, right?
Yeah.
So, it's probably better than it is here. La La Land.
Oh, I've been a few times.
But yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Go on, you were saying.
No. I was talking about that. I was just saying. I'm just trying to maybe just connect you two on that, because I think
he remember now.
Be a good documentary.
Embroiled in all of that stuff from back then, right? Where his head had to be literally round the clock with it.
Yeah.
Because you see, as you know, Charles, when you're the king of the hill, right, you got to stay the king of the hill as long as you can. And every year, you know, each year, new year, who's coming out, who's around you, what's going on, you know, there's a lot of stresses there. You've got a lot of people in your ear, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think Dorian always did the right thing by keeping himself in Birmingham and training training in his own gym when it was shut, and really he kind of closed himself off, kind of like the guys doing Q8, where they're distraction free, because, you know, like say like if Dorian had gone to Venice Beach, he wouldn't have fitted in there, because he's someone who likes to be in a strict routine, and it worked for him. And, you know, there's no one around him. It's like he can pick and choose who he wants around him and when. It's like he was living life on his own terms. He kind of created his own perfect environment, which worked for him, you know, really worked well for him as a bodybuilder. I mean, it really it enabled him to bring out the best in himself.
You know, this is it. I mean, you have to sort of leave all the distractions behind.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, like I said, like you just said, the Venice Beach lifestyle, that's not his gig, right? Yeah. His thing is, look, I'm number one now, I'm numero uno now. I need to be on my game.
Yeah, had to stay focused.
From how he used to train, right? So I understand fully why he was the way he was, right, at that time. Yeah, I mean, it could be a bit sort of off-putting, because you think, come on, dude, you know, just lighten up.
Well, he's certainly lightened up now.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say,
yeah, it's great.
I'm really down with where he's at, because he's, you know, that's when I listen to some of his stuff, I'm thinking, yeah, way to go, you. Yeah.
I think you should go on one of his retreats. I think it'd be really good. I think it'd be really good for you. Did you ever train with like Dorian or Flex Wheel or any of those guys, Kevin Navrone, back in the day?
Did I ever train?
Did you ever train with them?
With them? No. Milos and I had, you know, we trained together, I think, once or twice. Who else? Ian Harrison. We done some magazine training together. Who else? A few of the other, I can't remember now, but never Flex. No, never Flex, Kevin or Dorian. No, okay. Because as you know, Dorian, he's gone, right?
Yeah.
You hear from him till it was time to go to work, right? Flex, you know, he was in California. Kevin, he was in
Maryland, wasn't it?
Yeah, Maryland. Right.
Okay. What was your funniest experience whilst you were a pro from '92 to '97? What was your funniest, most memorable experience?
Well, looking like an absolute fake Giants, right? I look. You know, if you follow Darwin's theory of evolution, I'm the thing crawling around in the mud and the uprights back then.
Can you imagine if you'd retired after that? If you'd retired and said, "No, it's not for me," and then like, I know you'd have had your universe wins, but could you imagine like the last? They always say you're as good as your last contest. You could, and that's how people remembered you. Maybe that was the first time they'd seen you. You know.
But you know, look, I mean, people said, "Why did you get out? Why didn't you stick around there?" But what people don't realise as well is that I was suffering a hell of a lot of injuries.
Right. Okay. You never tore anything though, did you? You never tore anything. You never tore anything because you had no torn body parts.
I've had a few tears.
Oh, did you?
Not serious tears, just micro tears.
Right, okay.
From heavy training. I've had, I suffered a hiatus hernia for many years, which, you can't sleep, you can't, it's just not nice. And various other things. So at the end of it, I just thought, look, my body is just telling me, just get to hell out of Dodge.
So even like a year or two maybe after you'd like decided to stop competing in 97, did you ever think around maybe 2000, 2001, did you think, oh, maybe I'll give it another go, or were you completely done?
Oh, no, I was done because, you see, one of the things as well here is, like I said, going back to what I said about thinking downrange, right?
Yeah.
Putting your headspace there. Intermittently, obviously, is that you really need to go, look, okay, you've had your day in the sun.
Right, okay. So you accepted it.
Right. And what I've found, and Abs and I have discussed it, you know it, most guys in the whole business knows it, is that when you can sort of, it's good to sometimes put one foot in the fire, right? But when you put both feet in there and you stay too long, it's going to get you.
Yeah.
And so I thought, look, I've had my go with NABA.
Yeah.
My go with the IFBB.
Both successful.
Yeah. Thank you. But I mean, you have to go, look, enough now. Just sensible. Get out and leave it for the other guys to
So obviously leading on now, the last couple of years I've seen you popping up at Body Power. I've seen you at one of the Two Bro shows. You're kind of popping up a little bit more. You're running some posing classes. And what obviously is it Abs just bringing you back in? Are you kind of trying to step back into the industry a little bit now, or is it just you just dabbling?
I'm one of these that I just go with where the universe takes me. That sounds a bit sort of like woo out there, but yeah, I mean, Abs is a leader, right?
No, we're trying to get back into the sport.
I think there's a place for you in this industry, Charlie, as a different role. Like like Sean Ray, Kevin, a lot of these athletes, Milos, they've all kind of reinvented themselves, and then they're just as an integral part of the industry as much as they were when they were competitive athletes. I mean, who were we interviewing the other day? Who was I saying? We had the older guy on. What was his name? We had on last week, and I said, who was it? Sorry, and I said, who was it? One of the guys who was on last week. I can't remember. Anyway, so I said, Barry DeMay. And I said Barry, because he's a guy now, he's doing his own training system and he's got a supplement company. And I said, you're, as a guy over 50 that looks as good as you do year round, I said, you're as relevant now to the industry as you were when you were coming third in the Olympia. So it's like, so do you see yourself being reinvented as having some key role as a show promoter or starting some company up? Because for the legends like you, because you are a legend, Charlie, there's always going to be a place for it. There's always a leg end. There's always going to be a place for you, mate, if you just kind of like go after something, so because you're a good guy, man, and you've got a lot of knowledge and you've got a lot of kind of you've got a really good sensible attitude. You've been there, done that, and I think there's a lot that you've got to offer the industry, mate. I really do believe that.
That's why I keep telling him.
You know what? I always. This is why I wanted Abs here today. Right? He's been an integral part of all of this for me. Okay?
I've been trying to bring him out.
Yeah, and
keep on him, Abs.
And as the saying goes, where we go one, we go all. And in my case, where I go, he goes, and vice versa. Right?
Yeah.
So, yes, we are. Abs said, look, we do this, and this. I go, cool, I'll roll with it.
Yeah.
And you do. He has got me more enthused, right, about the whole thing again. Whereas when I put both hands up to this, I was, well, you know what? Look, the youngsters are coming. They're not interested in what I've got to say or do.
Oh, they are. They are, Charlie. They will be. They will be. If they know who you are. I mean, even just doing things like interviews like this. This is important to kind of, like, if they go back and do their research, that to be honest, I thought of you when the classic class came out. I just thought, like, I could see you as like a classic specified coach, coaching classic athletes, because your physique was the absolute epitome of that. I mean, guys like Sean Roden and Cedric McMillan, I mean, these are like, that's the kind of the physique that you kind of emulated and you know, that won pro shows in the 90s in one of the most competitive era of bodybuilding ever. You know, you were like a highly competitive athlete. You know, you were top 10 Olympia for 5 years straight, you know, and there was like Milos. I mean, Milos Sarcev, someone that knowledgeable, to say that you kind of had what he considered to be the perfect physique. I mean, that's always going to be your legacy, and that's always going to be something that you can pass on now to a new generation.
But, you know, I mean, firstly, I have to say, I thank everyone for their kind words as regards, you know, how they saw me back then.
You're an icon. You're an icon of British bodybuilding, of international pro bodybuilding, as a classic pro bodybuilder. You know, you brought something unique to the stage, and I think that's very relevant nowadays.
But yeah, I hope, you know, if we can, you know, Abs and I, as I say, going back to your point about what we're doing, is that we're pushing through with this, and
good.
Definitely with the posing classes.
We got one.
We actually got a thing to do with two bros in
fantastic.
Later on today.
Later on. So
good.
Yeah, I mean, if the guys out there are interested, you know where we are. You know, there's a lot of stuff we're doing we'll be doing with people, and we enjoy it. So, you know, it's
Charlie, you've just said it. You enjoy it, and people will benefit from your knowledge, from your help, from your being a mentor, as a guide, as a life coach. I think there's a real, because you've got life experience, you've got experience in all these different areas. I just think, Abs, I think you need to look into this a bit more, mate. Because to be honest, there's a real, like, there's always a place. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get at. There's always a place for people like yourself, Charlie. There's always going to be room for someone like you to be welcomed in. You know, if you just kind of go after it, and like I said, you've got a good friend by your side there that's kind of behind you all the way, and he always will be by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, you know, I have, you know, Abs.
We're thinking of getting supplements as well.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Why not?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff in the pipeline, and one of these that one step at a time.
Okay, Charlie, Abs, this has been absolutely amazing. I loved hearing about all the old stories, and you know, and like you, it's just, I love it. The 90s era, there's such a thirst for these kinds of stories. And the thing is, you've not really told your story in 23 years, mate. So I'm really privileged. I feel really honoured to have got this one. You did press record, didn't you, Cully?
I forgot.
Oh no, you didn't press record. Sorry, can we do it again? We'll start again. No, sorry. Okay then, Charlie, I'll let you go to your posing class, and I hope we kind of meet up soon, or maybe see you at one of the British shows. And give some thought on that, mate. Give some thought on that. Maybe you two need to have some deeper conversations with this. But there's always going to be a place for you in this industry, mate. I promise you that.
Charles, I love you, man. Right, peace to you. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, man.
All right, then, guys. I will speak to you very soon, and all the best with your posing class.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Abs. Thank you, Charlie. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.